Alright guys, so today we're going to be working on this 2009 Honda Odyssey, and we're replacing the power steering pump. This thing is leaking everywhere, so the best thing to do is just replace it. These aren't very expensive. I will leave a link down below where you guys can buy this on Napa or on Amazon, and this job is actually pretty straightforward, not too difficult. So if you have a leaky or bad power steering pump, well, I hope this video will help you guys out. One thing in advance, I do apologize. The video kind of ran into the night and a little bit dark, but I hope that you guys will kind of see how easy this job really is. And one advice to you before you start this job, you can see how there's all these grime, grease, fluid everywhere from just building up. I recommend degreasing your engine thoroughly before you guys start this job. Otherwise, you're going to be going through a lot of paper towels and gloves. As you can see in my bucket here, it's just full of gloves and paper towels. I probably went through maybe 25 pairs of gloves. Okay, let's go ahead and remove this cover. You just want to take these plastic clips and twist it. This will give us access to our power steering pump right here. You can see all the fluid on here. It's been leaking everywhere, coming out of here. So it's not uncommon for these power steering pumps to go out. These are just like, you know, any pumps that have a pulley on it, like your AC pump will go out, your alternator will go out, and your power steering pump will go out. They just wear out. There's metal bearings inside, and sometimes that just, you know, wears out, seals wear out, and you start leaking fluid and things like that. So the best thing to do here is we're gonna go ahead and knock this bolt off of this wheel right here while the belt is on. When the belt is on, you can loosen up this nut on the pulley pretty easily. So that's going to be step one. Sometimes a good old wrench and a hammer and a good knock will get that loose. There we go. Okay, and then on the reservoir bracket, this is a 10 millimeter. The belt tensioner right there, you can kind of see the little piston, little shock right there, goes up to this bolt right there. Okay, so what you want to do is take a 19 millimeter, like a breaker bar, and set the breaker bar to, if you have like a ratchet system, to off, and you're going to push that piston or shock down, and that's what allows you to free up your belt there. Looks like this has been rubbing on something. We'll have to replace that. So this is why I hate doing power steering pumps, because it's just nasty and dirty. So there you go, it's that bolt right there. To get there are a couple clips on your passenger side wheel area. You got to take the tire off and remove this plastic, you know, cover, and you'll get right into that bolt. Okay. Next thing we want to do is try and get rid of this reservoir, because what we want to do is, now at this point, this fluid is probably the original fluid from back 2009. We're going to go ahead and pump out all the fluid out of here. Get all the fluid out of here. So what we want to do is basically we want to remove this clamp. Okay, so on every reservoir there is a return line, then there's the hose on the very bottom that goes into the pump, then it basically circulates back into this reservoir and it goes back out again. So what we want to do is to flush this, to get all the old fluid out. We want to take the top one out, take the top hose off the reservoir. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we get all the fluid out of here as much as possible, so we're not making a big mess. And power steering fluid is messy and disgusting. Okay, and to do this job effectively and quickly, I have a 12 volt, I don't know what we call it, a fluid extractor. Let me go ahead and plug this guy in here. And this just basically clips onto your battery. And then on the extractor you have fluid coming in, then fluid going out the other side. So we're going to go ahead and stick this hose there, something like that. And the other end's going to go here. And we're going to pop this cap off the reservoir. Set this aside. And we're going to run this hose down in here. And we're going to suck out all the fluid. So let's go and do that. Oh, yuck. Look at that. It's like milkshake. It's frothy. It's got a lot of moisture in here. Okay, and then just gonna get the hose off to the side like this for right now. Okay, so now we're gonna take our pliers and remove the hose clamp off the connection there. And we're gonna slowly try to wiggle this thing off the reservoir without making too much of a mess. Okay, nice. So that was no mess at all. And if you guys can see this hose where my hand is right here. Okay, so this is where your return line is. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook up this other end here. Okay, so again, this is your return line, and this is where and this goes on the top of your reservoir right there, just so you know. Alright, so I just jacked up both sides of the van, the front side, and I'm going to move the steering wheel back and forth, the wheels. And then as I do this, this should pump the fluid into this bucket right here. So I'm going to move this down a little bit here, let gravity do its thing. There you go, you can see the fluid moving now. So just so you know, I just put a hose down here to the bucket, and I put a vice grip on the hose so it wouldn't make a big mess. Okay, so next up here is we're going to go ahead and disconnect this hose right here. This is the hose from the reservoir that's coming into your power steering pump. We're going to remove the high pressure line, and then there's two bolts that's holding the power steering pump, and we'll pull that sucker right out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and remove this 17 millimeter nut off this flywheel, the pulley wheel, or pulley, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and we'll set this aside. Go ahead and take this belt off. Okay, so this is how the pump goes, like this inside the van, and you got a hole, the bolt on top here and the bolt here on the bottom. Okay, so just two 12 millimeter bolts holding this thing together, and then you can see right here where my light is, well, maybe they provided a O-ring for the high pressure line. So we'll get that added on there for sure. Okay, let's go ahead and replace this O-ring. Okay, so in the kit there are two different sizes of O-ring. Just want to make sure you pick the right one here. I think this is the bigger one. Looks correct. Alright guys, so we're going to torque down these two bolts to 216 inch-pounds. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put our high pressure line back on. And then these little bolts are 96 inch-pounds. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put on the flywheel on the pulley here. Then we're gonna wait last minute once you put the belt on to torque that nut down. Makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so at this point we can go ahead and get our hoses put on. So if you guys recall, we just took off the return line on the upper part of the reservoir. Look on here's my wrench. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and slide on the upper hose, the return line. And we'll actually hold off until we put the other hose on here real quick. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put the reservoir bracket back on. Now, it's not really necessary to take off this reservoir bracket, but it does give you just a little bit more room down in there with your hands. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten up our pulley wheel on the power steering pump, and that needs to be torqued down to 47 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna use a screwdriver here to kind of hold this pulley in place. There we go. Alright guys, so one thing we didn't touch on in this video is bleeding your power steering system. It's really critical that you do bleed the power steering lines. In other words, get the air bubbles out of the reservoir, the pump, the line, all of it. It's a pretty big system, and if you don't do that, you're going to prematurely wear out your pump. So it's critical that you do that. It takes about 5 minutes. If you guys want to see a video on that, let me know. But there are plenty of videos on YouTube on how to bleed your power steering system, and any of those videos will work because it's all the same. Okay, so the fluid level is just a little bit high, so I'll go ahead and remove some of the fluid here. Once I get this engine a little bit more detailed, I want to get this thing nice and clean. One thing we discovered here is that the alternator bolt was missing during the installation process. So we're gonna get that addressed next week. But other than that, this project was, fairly easy. The only difficult part about this particular job is just dealing with the yucky, grimy oil and just grease and dirtiness of this engine bay. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. All right, guys. So we took the van on a nice drive just to make sure this fluid gets circulated really well and there's no bubbles in the line. We're looking for fluid leaks right now. There's none, and everything looks good here on the reservoir side, and also on the power steering pump side. There's no leaks. You can see the engine bay is it's a lot cleaner than it was. But overall, this job was pretty simple. The most difficult part was actually working through all the grime and grease. So my advice to you guys: make sure you guys clean up your engine bay before you start this project. That's probably the best advice for this particular project. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I apologize for the late night video, but hope there was enough detail for you guys to see what was going on and how to do this job yourself. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.